right, so listen, y'all know how we like to do on Montgomery and Company. We, of course, talk about sports. We talk about the culture. We talk about business, and we love, love, love to have founder conversations. People that are entrepreneurs that started businesses. So I'm excited to welcome award-winning entrepreneur and inventor who was named one of USA Today's 21 most influential black leaders in technology, founder of Urban World, which, if you don't know, is the largest international festival dedicated to nurturing women and people of color. Listen, this co-founder and CEO, Stacy, I'm just telling you right now, Stacy Spikes is all of the things. I'm sorry, I had to do all the intros, Stacy. He's the CEO and founder of MoviePass. Stacy, welcome to Montgomery and Company.
Thank you so much for having me. That's a great intro.
Let's go. This is really your life. So it's always whenever you have to start slimming down the intro, you know you're doing some things. So first of all, I'm trying to become a movie critic. In my mind, I'm a TV and film critic because I binge, I watch, I analyze. So were you a movie enthusiast? How did MoviePass come about?
Oh, I love movies. They are my life. People say, "Well, what would you do if you weren't doing movies?" I said, "Movies." So when you're trying to escape from your job, you go do your job. That you're in the right job. So I love it, and I think I have the best job on earth, being able to help filmmakers' films be seen and help the audiences connect with them. And I just can't imagine doing anything better.
See, that's dope because that's how I felt as an athlete. It's like sports. I speak sports even now. Like I'm sports planning things, and I'm about to do it again because as an athlete, I know what it's like to have a loss, have a big loss, have something that I thought was my baby that I've been working all my life on, and then it gets taken away. And so you, in a certain sense, had a similar experience where you built something amazing and you might have experienced a loss. So, like, as a founder and CEO, how do you deal with those big lumps when you take that L?
I look. I'm a person of faith, and you got to go back to the book, and you got to go back to how you were raised. And I was raised from strong people who taught me to brush my shoulders off, get up, and keep moving because I got this one life and this one opportunity, and I need to make the best of it. So you don't take it personal. Everybody's got to have some defeats, and it's not about getting knocked down, but it's about getting up, getting back up.
No, I love that. And so let's get into some numbers because one thing that I watch all kinds of Mark Cuban interviews and he talks about how much he spent to get a business, how much he sold it for, how much it's doing. So I want to do that with MoviePass. Like, how do you get something like how much does it cost to get like MoviePass off the ground and to the MoviePass that we know? And then what did you sell for? Like, what, give me some stats, analytics. I'm an athlete. Let's go.
All right. So the first version of MoviePass, roughly, we took in around $10 million in investments. At the time of sale, it was valued at around $500 million. It was 7 years to that point. As you know from the story, the private equity group who bought it, they spent $250 million and blew it up. And then I bought it back in 2022 for $140,000 and relaunched the
What?
company. And we had our first profitable year in 2023.
Yo, listen. First of all, okay. Wait a minute. Okay, because the numbers, when you said 140,000, I was thinking you was gonna say million after that. So this is amazing. So just so everybody, I'm breaking it down. You built it up. You 10 million. You said you brought in on the first run, sold it for $500 million. Then they blew it up, and you bought it back for $140,000. What was that building the company back now? Because the name had also, like there was time in between. How did you get it back to profitable?
Yeah, so COVID had happened, theaters got shut down, the industry didn't know what it was going to do. But talk about stats, I went back and I looked at the 1918 pandemic, and most movie studios that we know today were built in the 1920s after that pandemic. So what I did was looked at the 100-year-old stats and knew the industry was going to pop again when people got to go back out of the house and go to theaters. So I made them a low ball offer and got the company back for 140,000 free and clear.
Wow. That is just like, I can't. I'm sorry. I have to keep, because it's one thing, because a lot of people, once they sell their company too, it's almost like it's gone forever. Like, there could have been the woulda, coulda, shouldas. You got it back now. What would be some pieces of advice? Like, you're saying it's like simple, but you had a company that, when you say they blew it up, just so people understand, it was like there was no value pretty much. They had basically, you had this big value thing, and by the time you got it back, the value, the name recognition, all these things have now been tarnished. How do you build up a brand?
Yeah, there's kind of, I think it's not only unique to America, but we've seen where Apple got in trouble and
Mm-hmm.
they let go of Steve Jobs, and Steve came back to build it to be the most valuable company on the planet. Michael Dell came back and bought Dell Computers back. The founders of Skype came back after it was sold and they relaunched the brand. So there's a lot of times where when the original founders get kicked out, the brand loses its purpose and meaning, and somebody else thinks they can do it better. And so I think with me buying it back, being one of the original founders, that narrative and that support for getting back up and doing it again is there in kind of our folklore and American entrepreneurial spirit.
That is so good, because I think people don't understand how much a founder has to do with the branding of a company. Like, like you are the heart and soul. Like, a lot of times, if you work in a job or if you are the owner of that business, there's two different thought processes, there's two different energies, and you kind of you showed that. We see shows like House of Gucci, Billions, and all these other shows where people either get forced out of their company or they sell it. What would you say, in a sense of somebody that has a company and they're trying to decide to sell, not to sell, what to do in these type of situations? Like, what would be your advice to them?
I mean, when you're considering that, you've taken people's money, probably you've got investors, so you need to consider you took their money promising you were going to give it back in some profitable way. So you can't just say, I don't feel like selling. And so you do need to take your board into consideration. Uh, Usually you're promising within 7 years to either go public or have an exit of an acquisition. And so you got a time clock. And at that point, you and your board need to sit down and make a decision. They have a right to, sometimes they have a physical right to take their money off the table, that you need to give it back to them, or declare a loss. So it depends on the bylaws, what deals you made along the way, but that's part of it. You need to consider that. And sometimes people think it's just, well, it's mine.
Yeah.
No, not when you took other people's money. It became y'all's. you
That's a
know.
good point. No, that's for real a good point. And I always wonder, like, you sold, I'm just for a gazillion dollars. So when finances are no longer like the question or the need, you're secure. Like, what's next for you in your brain? Because I know we listed you as an inventor, an entrepreneur, and a lot of times what I've seen with entrepreneurs is they're like, all right, I built up this thing, I have other ideas too. So what do you do to balance those other ideas that you want to bring to life while also, having sustaining something that's already going well?
Well, the details of ours was pretty screwed up, because there's another thing that you have to be careful of. When you sell a company, there's three types of sales: straight cash, meaning they just gave you cash and you walked away. There's equity, meaning you got stock in the buying company that's buying you. And then there's what's a equity mixture. And what we got was a cash equity mixture, and within the 12 months, my co founder and I lost everything we had, because the company went under in the time that you had to wait before you could exit. And so
Okay.
they went bankrupt. So we actually, it was valued at $500 million. We ended up with zero. And so I
What?
went and built a whole new company and then bought the company back with the new company that I built.
Whoa, that's a lot to take in. So, I mean, thank you for this because this is why I like to have founder conversations because there's entrepreneurs everywhere. Everybody's starting a business, everybody's trying to figure things out. I always talk sports. So, what you just described in the sports term of our contracts is a product deal. So we get cash and product in
Yeah.
sports. So if I sign with Nike, Nike could give me an all product deal where they give me all just gear, merch, whatever. There's no money involved. Then there's an athlete that we can get cash and product where, by the way, athletes, you get taxed on your cash and your product. So if they give
Yeah.
you a $50,000 contract, 20,000 of it's cash and 30,000 is product, you're getting taxed on 50,000 total. So just for the athletes out there, you had a cash product deal essentially. You're saying that the product where you got shares in, it ended up being valued at zero, so you only really took back the cash, right? Is that what you're
And
saying?
we didn't get the cash. No, we got an all stock deal.
Oh
We didn't end
no.
up. So what
Oh
happened was,
no.
yeah. So the lockup period was 12 months and we converted ours to stock. The cash they put into the company. And
Mm.
so the company got an infusion to keep going. So, yes, at the top level, the company got cash and the shareholders were going to get stock. So we were purely stock, but we had a 12, they don't want to see in a publicly traded company the founders fleeing from the business moments after a deal. So what they do is they do a lockup period of sometimes 12 to 24 months that the founders can't exit because it then spooks the market. Well, why are the founders taking all their shares off the
Got
table?
you.
So within that 12 months, they went bankrupt, and then it was all over until I bought it back again.
Wow. And so what would be some advice that you would have for like starting out, advice for yourself starting out that you wish you knew then, or any entrepreneur starting out? Like what's a piece of advice you would have?
In our case, it was very specific. They didn't know much about the movie industry, and they thought that setting the price at 9.95 where Netflix was a great idea, but the average movie ticket in North America is around $15. So
Mm.
you can't underprice the product, and they misjudged that. They were growing very fast, but they were never going to be profitable at that price point. So in hindsight, if I had some type of control that was still maintained, I would have had them increase the price. Back when I was CEO, it was $30 a month, so it was
Mm.
three times the price they had it at. They didn't do that, and that ultimately caused them to go bankrupt. So I wish maybe if there's a 12-month lag period that I would have been able to contractually maintain some controls during that period in between. So if it's hard if you have two people driving the car at the same
Yeah.
time, somebody's got to make the decisions. I don't know that contractually we would have been able to pull that off.
Wow, that's interesting. So you would have known better to steer the ship, basically. You know, they say there's too many cooks in the kitchen. Like, so maybe being able to be CEO for that next 12 months, kind of, even though you sold the company, you're saying that 12-month period. That's actually really smart. And so, what's next then for Stacy Spikes and MoviePass? What could even be next? I've read your bio. There's a long list of things I didn't even read. Like, what's on your agenda?
The great thing is, so we had a profitable year in 23. We're having a profitable year in 24, and we did a 5-year deal with Mastercard that now
Mm.
we can expand globally. We have our patents in place, and MoviePass is the only and the largest and the fastest growing theatrical subscription company in the world. So
Wow.
I always say we want to be the Airbnb of cinema, where we create this two-sided marketplace where you ignite fans who want to go, and they can travel and they can go to movies as often as they want and save money and be rewarded. So that's our vision, to be able to build that company out. And I would assume you're going to get an exit. Either you're going to go public, or a big streamer, or a big, electronic company is going to want to buy you because that's a lot of faithful subscribers about the theatrical window.
So when that moment does come, because it's coming, because as you can see, your trajectory, you already know where I'm going with this. Like that moment, you're doing the exact same thing you did last time. You built this up to be a monster. Now you got to deal with MasterCard. You're going global. People are probably already sniffing around like, yes, okay. What are you going to do the second time around that's maybe different than the first? Or what are you doing the second time around when somebody wants to buy?
You know what a lot of people don't know that you talk about sports analogies. Do you know that in the US alone, people go to the movies 10 times more than all sporting events combined every year?
What?
And with one movie in 4 days of $100 million movie, the first 4 days, as many people go see that one movie as all people who attend the entire NFL season. And so what a lot of people don't realize is cinema is a really big sleeping giant that people see only one movie at a time, but they don't realize it's open 365 days a year. It gets 220 million people who go every year, and 44% of the global population goes to see a movie at least once a year. 44% of the global population.
Whoa.
So there is no company that owns movie going as an activity. There's movie theaters and there's movie studios, but no one's ever owned movie going. That's our goal. Our goal is to be able to completely own that marketplace the way Live Nation or the way, Ticketmaster or others. No one owns movie going as an activity. So it is the number one out-of-home entertainment activity in the world, and that's what we want to own.
What? Like, listen, I love stats and stuff, and that's crazy for me as an athlete to hear, because it's like I played in arenas that are sold out. I've seen the Super Bowl, big as the Super Bowl, and for you to say that, when you said 365, it made me instantly think of, because our family, sometimes we go to the movies on Christmas. Like, we go to the movies literally on holidays sometimes. Like, the Christmas releases are some of the biggest ones. And so, man, we wish you the best. Can I get a lifetime pass to MoviePass? Like, what's going on? I'm like an avid movie girl. I'll be a critic. What do I need to do? Because
whatever you need, you just call. We got you hooked up.
Let's go. No, congratulations on everything. Honestly, like, when you say it like that, in 2024, we always feel like there's nothing else that could be done. Everything's already been done. But then hearing you say, the Airbnb of movie going, controlling that market, it's like, that's what a visionary does. They think of, yes, we already know movies. Yes, we already know this, but do we know this? And so we have a 60-second shot clock of fast questions that we're going to ask you, quick hitters.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, so it's just, I like to play some games. So I'm going to ask you just 5 quick hitter questions. You ready?
Okay. Yes.
Let's get it. All right. A sport you can play really well.
There isn't any.
Okay, what's a sport?
I'm in the movie business.
Oh, I love this. A sport that you're really bad at.
Basketball.
Oh, no. I need to help you. All right. If you could have one sports superpower, what would it be?
Jumping.
Love it. Me too. If you could brag you beat any athlete at any sport, what would it be? Who would it be? I'm sorry. Who?
Usain Bolt.
Oh, good one. That might be the first time we've heard that one. What would your walkout theme song be when you're coming on stage?
Don't call it a comeback.
Hey, I've been here for years. Let's go, Stacy. Let's go. That's all I got, man. I appreciate you joining me here on MoCo.
Thank you, Mo.
Thank y'all for joining us for this episode of Montgomery and Company. Remember, if you've got a question for the MoCo mailbag, send it to us at moco@wabe.org or at Montgomery Co Pod on Instagram. This show is produced by Think Tank Productions in collaboration with WABE. Our executive producers are Amena Brown, Scotty Crowe, and Sirena Grace. Audio production is by Kevin Rinker and Matt Owen. Video by Ariel Brown, Greg Harding Films, and Ryshad Pitts. Until next time, I'm Renee Montgomery, and this is MoCo, where it's all sports, culture, and family business.
WABE.